G'day there guys, Connor here again from Marky Industries, coming at you with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Okie dokie, we're on relationship advice. This one was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, Slight chance my pregnant wife had an affair. Should I ask for a paternity test or wait? My wife, 38, and I, 39, have been together for 12 years. I don't know how to describe it other than calling it the perfect relationship. I think in 12 years we've only ever gotten to the point of really raising our voices at one another, maybe 2 or 3 times. We do everything together, but always have never had issues allowing each other to lead our own lives and follow our own interests. We bought a house where we wanted. We both have good high-paying jobs that have great work-life balance. Basically, it's been everything short of perfect. We've been trying for 2 years to get pregnant, and it hadn't been happening. We were just about to start the fertility stuff when I came home from a work trip, and guess what? She's pregnant. I had this weird instant thought of, wait, I thought we didn't try during the week last month because of the fertility testing, but I couldn't remember exactly because, to be honest, we were busy at it, so I just assumed I misremembered. Now, I travel around the country pretty regularly for work. Other than COVID, I've been on the road as much as 40 weeks a year sometimes. Since COVID, it's been less, but still more than a week a month. Over the last 4 to 5 years, my wife has gotten very friendly with a guy she works with. Let's call him Matt. Matt is slightly younger, I think 34 or so. I know him, he's married, I know his wife. They've worked together for I think 7 years or so. He's always been around. Him and I have been friendly. Have I ever thought something was happening? No, but I've always thought you'd be a fool to not think there's even a 1% chance your spouse would go outside the relationship. Maybe I'm naive, but I've always seen it as a safeguard to not take my wife or any other partner in the past for granted. She's never given me a reason to think she'd do that, but anything is possible. So, about a month ago, I'm out of state for work, and she's at home. I ask her what she's doing earlier in the day, and she says Matt is coming by for dinner. Nothing out of the ordinary. Matt comes by from time to time. Sometimes with his wife, sometimes without, sometimes when I'm not there. I don't think much of it. We have a security system which includes cameras both inside and outside of the house, which we installed after an unrelated incident a few years ago. They record and are live accessible by both her and I. I often use those cameras to check on the dog when I or both of us are away, as the rest of the system is monitored by a company in case of an alarm going off. She knows I check those cameras. There's a system installed where I can talk through them. I'll mess with my wife and she will with me on them if either of us are out of town. She travels for work as well, but far less than I do. Point is, it's known that I check them often when I'm not at home. So I turn on the camera and I see my 4 months pregnant wife lying on the floor on her side with Matt sitting, straddling her legs and using a foam roller to massage her hips. So I'm like, okay, what the frick is this? I start rewinding through the footage and they're eating and talking normally, but then they get on the couch and get under the same blanket. Now, they are feet to feet, but that couch isn't that big. Then they move to the floor, and that's when I logged in. Anyway, I text her, I'm still watching the cameras, and they both look like deer in the headlights, and he very quickly leaves. We get into an argument. She isn't mad at me accusing her, but she's adamant that nothing has or ever would happen, and that what I saw was innocent, and she was complaining about being in pain from the pregnancy, which I know is true. She's already having some issues with back pain, etc. The biggest point of that discussion was I asked, if I were there, would you two have been comfortable doing any of that in front of me? And she reluctantly admitted, no, probably not. I told her I didn't want to talk after that, and we'd talk when I got home 3 days later. That's when it hit me. What if my weird gut moment feeling about her telling me she was finally pregnant was this? What if my 1% happened, and this is not my child we're having? Now it eats away at me while I'm at a hotel alone 1,000 miles away for 3 days. I reconcile with myself that I think it's less likely than more likely that something happened between them, but basically my 1% just jumped to 10%, 20% maybe. I get home and she's on eggshells and doesn't mention it. I kinda wait to see what she's going to do. 2 days later, she finally brings it up and breaks down. Swears nothing has happened, she would never. Doesn't do anything over the top to try and prove anything, which I took as a good sign. But anyway, we talk out the issue and everything to a point of at least moving forward for now. I'm still coping and dealing with it, figuring out how to retrust after all this time. I'm getting more and more understanding of the fact that they've been friends for so long. Maybe he has intentions, but I don't see her having any, and I've never really picked up on it, and I've spent time around both of them together many, many times, and never caught anything. So the thing that is destroying me right now is, if I'm wrong and something did happen, while I can figure out how to deal with that, what if the child isn't mine? In the argument and few long conversations we've had about the situation, since I've never brought that up, and she's not mentioned it, mostly because I don't want to make the situation worse and crush her if in fact she is telling the truth, which I mostly believe. The only thing I can think to do at this point is to wait until the baby is born and immediately order a paternity test in secret. Should I do that? Should I tell her and have it dealt with now? If you're a woman in her shoes and you're telling the truth, would that destroy you or your view of me? If you're lying, what would you do if I asked? I don't want to ask a super vague question, but what do I do? Oh man, yeah, I suppose regardless of whether or not the kid's OPs or not, there's still a problem with the fact that his wife was messing around with this guy when he wasn't there. And not messing around in, the traditional sense, but the fact that she admitted she wouldn't do that if he was there tells you all you need to know. Let's go to the comments. Baby or not, your wife was acting inappropriately with another man. She claims it was innocent, but if my wife saw me doing what you saw them doing, she would probably leave me. I'd be honest with her and tell her that your trust in her has been compromised due to what you saw. She put that doubt in your head, not you. Tell her that what you saw has saddened you because it has actually caused you to wonder if there's a slim chance the baby might be his. That doubt is robbing you of the full joy you should be experiencing during what should be a very joyful time in your life. Who knows? She may suggest a test to ease your pain. In your next conversation, you need to speak your mind directly. Quote, "This whole situation has me so messed up. I want to get past this crappy moment and find the relationship we had again. The amount of distrust that grew in me in that moment won't go away. It has me questioning our entire relationship, and especially if I'm the father of our child. For me to really move past the massage incident and you both being cozy under a blanket together, I need a paternity test." She will absolutely cry and be upset, but she also deserves to know the full consequences of her actions. You have said, "I've never told her even a white lie," to the best of your knowledge. Why start on one of the biggest decisions of your life? Every time you talk about this situation and don't bring this up, you're lying to her and yourself. If she is really upset at the level of her screw-up, as you say she is, she may likely understand where you're coming from. She may not. Either way, this is 100% her fault in the situation for questionable behaviour. You likely won't move past this anytime soon without the reassurance that the results will provide. Do you really want to have these nagging feelings to stay with you for the remainder of the pregnancy? Talk and test now. Don't wait. The amount of resentment that will grow in your uncertainty until the birth will not be easily removed from your relationship, regardless of the outcome of the test. I personally would talk about it all, everything you're feeling, all your doubts and insecurities. You've been together this long. Why start keeping things from each other now, especially when a baby is on the way? You need to man up and ask, and she can't even blame you. What they were doing is weird. Two grown-ass adults cuddling and being weird under a blanket together? That's not normal. If my boyfriend or baby dad was doing that crap, I'd be questioning our entire life together, and we've only been together for 2 years. I don't think people can have opposite-sex friendships, but come on. Even she admitted she wouldn't have done that in front of you. That's sneaky. And what does his wife think of it? Of her husband going over to another married, pregnant woman's house to massage her back and cuddle on the couch with their feet? It's weird, man. I know you love her and trying to make every excuse. Best to find out now. If she doesn't understand why you want the tests, she's being unreasonable. You deserve the right to know and ease your mind. Good luck. Just wait and do it at birth. You can get 48-hour turnaround at most places, so you can get it done before you have to sign the birth certificate. Don't make a drama unless you're sure. It will bite you in the ass later. Okay, a quick update from OP. So many comments. Thank you everyone more than I can address directly, but I'm going to keep reading a few things. 1. Stop DMing me about this. Thanks. 2. Some have made some good points about addressing it now rather than later, and that's something I'm considering more than I was before. Thank you. 3. To those focused only on my relationship, I get it, but that's not what I'm focused on. We've been talking about it a lot. My wife and I are pretty open people with each other. I'm not saying I'm convinced nothing happened, but I'm more focused on paternity right now. 4. If I need to track, spy on, or Life 360 my wife, then this relationship is already over. That's not the relationship we have, and not one that I ever want, and in my opinion, not one anyone should ever have. We're working on rebuilding trust. As I said in this long-winded post, my default of 1% possibility went up to 10% or so. Trust me, I'm taking my relationship seriously. But to those I've said this to already, if the kid isn't mine, then there's no longer any conversation to have. And 5, I've already had this discussion with my lawyer. I don't live in a state where the birth certificate stuff will be an issue. If I have paperwork that this child isn't mine, then divorce isn't going to be much of an issue. Both of us are in an independent financial situation where it won't matter much regardless. I'll keep up with this post as long as I can and post an update when and if anything gets resolved. Let's move to that next update. So she was out of state on a business trip until late last night. It's Friday, so she worked from home in our kitchen, so I asked to talk and brought it up and asked for a test. She immediately said yes and said there's zero doubt and nothing that she'd even have a second to worry about, but she has no problem doing it now. The only caveat I left it with is, if it's invasive at all per our doctors, then I'm okay waiting until it's low risk. I'm not a doctor, no clue what they'd have to do it now. So not sure where we are, but she's aware and we're getting one. It was a decent and longer conversation. We're currently sitting together getting lunch. She's got no clue I did this on Reddit, hence the new account because she's on here somewhere. Thank you everyone for your help and opinions. A bunch of you made me realise that we're already really open about everything, and if nothing happened, then she wouldn't worry about getting one. I was more worried about her health and adding some insane level of stress if it was an issue, as she's an at-risk pregnancy and it took so long for us to get pregnant. So again, thank you all for the help. I suppose I can update if it's mine or not, but I'm not sure how long that will be. I'm 90 to 95% sure it is mine, but this will help us continue the conversation. Thank you. Update. Just because it seems to be more of a topic on this post versus the other one for some reason, yes, I have the footage. No, I haven't talked to Matt yet. He's told her he wants to talk about it, but I've told them to wait on that. My relationship with my wife and the paternity is what's important right now. I will eventually talk to Matt. And no, I'm not going to get Matt's wife involved intentionally. I don't know why I would, other than to just be vindictive. I'm not going to cover for him obviously, but his relationship is his, and mine is mine. I'm not interested in making this worse. Whatever's going on between him and his wife isn't any of my business. Yeah, okay, so her reaction to the paternity test thing was pretty good, I think. Like, she didn't get defensive or even angry that he was asking, like she completely understood why, which is good. Opie comments when asked why his wife thought she could be intimate with someone else. We've talked about it at length and nothing is being ignored. I could write you an essay about our past, her reasons and my feelings on it, but instead I'll just say I'm aware of it. She's claiming innocence of anything further, but at the same time admitting that it wasn't a good look, but she wasn't thinking about it at the time, and that's what we're currently working through. More comments say it doesn't look innocent, and ask Opie if his wife goes to Matt's house when his wife isn't home. She's 4 months, I was home, and we'd been on the clock, to the point of the days blending together, trust me. We're pretty open people and pretty comfortable with ourselves and each other. I don't know if she's been to his house without his wife. I mean, the 3 and 4 of us all hang out probably once or twice a month, but they work directly together every day, and have for years, so obviously there's a closeness there. They're both upper management in their company, and at my company I have long-term friends that are women. I've travelled with them, we've done dinner and hung out in hotel rooms together, but I've never done anything because that's not me. I'm married and love my wife and my life. I have no reason to. So I mean, the optics are bad. I just have to decide if it's only the optics, or if she has a reason to. Maybe he has a reason to, and that's what I saw. That I'm not sure about. But that comes down to, do I trust her to handle that? She says if that's the case, she's never noticed it, and she hangs out with him and his wife just about as much as he hangs out with us. She works in a building right near them. My company is based out of Chicago, and I live on one of the coasts, so my co-worker friends are much more spread out. We can't go to the bar to grab after-work drinks any day like they can. Honestly, I usually go to their work hangouts more than mine because of that. I'm friendly with her CEO because of it. So, is it perfect? No, but I've always trusted her, and I've never had a reason not to. In 15 years, this is the first crack or dent in it. Opie gives a clearer description of what happened that day. That's not what I saw. She said something, he froze. Said something I couldn't hear. She said, no, don't worry about it. He put something in the dishwasher, and she walked him out the front door. He didn't dive out the window. You have to remember, this is Reddit. I'm not putting every single nuanced detail on this because that would take me hours to write, and I'm not putting my security footage on the internet for strangers to see. The reason I have the security system in the first place is because of a stranger on the internet. I'm not saying anything beyond that didn't happen for sure between them. I'm saying I don't know now and I don't have any proof. That's what my wife and I are discussing just about every day and what we're working through. The original point of the post was, the only thing we hadn't talked about was paternity because I don't want to put her in a situation where she medically loses the child, mine or not. Not only have I not been able to put every single nuanced thing in this, I've also sprinkled in false details about our lives. Nothing pertinent to what happened, but other mundane details. I was a very small public figure at one point, and some lowlife from the internet travelled across the country to make death threats against us because of something warped in his head, to the point where the federal government had to get involved. People in here are wildly jumping at conclusions with much less information than I have, and ignoring the original point of the post and the original questions asked. More comments ask if he's told Matt's wife. She's my wife's friend's wife. We don't meet up and knit together. I know her through my wife. I see her maybe once every few months at a bar after work, or if they come by for dinner or to hang out. We aren't besties. Again, what should I go tell her? Hey, your husband was at my house. I knew he was there and I saw him run a foam roller over the outside of my wife's hip while he was sitting on her feet. It's super obvious they're banging, and even though I'm not sure, it's possible she's carrying his baby. This isn't a soap opera. There's nothing I know that I can tell her, so why would she take my word on what tiny evidence there is? And why or how in the world would that help my situation? If all of this is false, now I've destroyed my relationship for acting like a child, trying to drum up drama for what obviously looks like being vindictive, and I put them in the same situation we're in now, for something that I don't know is true yet. I believe you've entirely lost the plot here. Now for a new update. Hi folks, so I haven't been touching this account at all as I was mostly bombarded by people telling me I'm an AI, wishing my wife a miscarriage, claiming she's going to get a secret abortion to save herself, or that I'm a clown for not keeping it real and destroying someone else's marriage over speculation only. I'm amazed that people are still following this and invested in it after all this time. Here's where we're at. Yes, my wife is still very much pregnant. She's in the hard to pick things up off the floor stage. She's due in 8 weeks. Holy crap, 6 weeks actually, just looked at the calendar. We're getting weekly ultrasounds at this point. He's already about 5 pounds and has a big old head. Her and I had some very long direct conversations about everything. She is adamant that nothing has ever happened and nothing ever would. For a while, she was pretty upset with herself for causing this and causing my feelings of doubt. I've done my best to remedy that as I've got to keep stress off her as much as possible right now, but it will for sure be revisited after the birth. As I've been saying the entire time, I'm really only worried about the child and the birth going well, etc. Well, mostly, maybe not only. The only thing we still really disagree on is I thought he was getting too close because he'd developed feelings or was getting attention that he wasn't getting elsewhere maybe, etc. She doesn't see it that way, but has also said it's possible, but if so, she was blind to it. I told her I wanted a paternity test, and she immediately agreed to it and said no problem at all. My only stipulation was that it couldn't be medically risky or stress-inducing at all, as she's a high-risk pregnancy. We both spoke to her doctors about it, and they basically told us that our only option was to go to the courthouse because they wouldn't do one without the law involved, which we both thought was ridiculous. Her doctor was a bit thrown off by it, so I didn't press very hard. It was honestly her pretty much demanding it. I knew there were other options. I looked into those other options and ultimately decided to wait until the birth, and I have a lab already set up to do it, ready to go. I'm 95% sure it's unnecessary, but I'm still getting one for my peace of mind, and mostly so that nothing will come between me and my child. For those of you who have left me messages of support that I didn't get back to, thank you. I'm going to spend some time going through them tonight before I run off again. For those of you who have left messages that think I should be acting like a 17-year-old high school student and either getting violent, purposely cheating on my wife to prove a point, or other childish trash, thanks for the entertainment at least. Stop watching TLC and TikTok. That idiot drama ain't the way, kiddos. And to the one person who suggested I cause an accident with my wife, I hope you end up behind bars someday. It's really likely I'm not going to come back here after tonight until after I get the results back from the lab. So if you're really still interested in the results, come back in 1.5 or 2 months. I've been told the results take about 48 hours once submitted. I'll give you your Maury moment then. Opie answers some more questions. Just as a preempt, I'm going to post something I responded to someone else on the last post just a minute ago, but I likely won't check this account until after the birth, after this. People seem to be reading into the reasons I thought all of this was more than what I said. I've seen, dude, they were in bed together, you caught them, or they were cuddling under a blanket. I totally get how the telephone game works, but I never said any of that. So I'll clarify, I guess. Here's exactly what I saw. They were on the sectional couch in my living room at either ends under the same large blanket, feet to feet. The massage, she was laying on the floor on her side, he was sitting by her feet and rolling one of those big foam rollers on her back and side, which is something I do all the time because she's been complaining about back and outer hip pain. Still enough for me to raise a concern with her, but people seem to be reading into that as they were basically dry humping and thought you couldn't see it. I'm being told that I'm being oblivious and ignoring the obvious and letting her and him off the hook. This is a direct comment I left someone giving my thoughts on that. I think they said something like, "This is what guys who choose to have their head in the sand say." My response? Yeah, I'm pretty well aware of that. I've also stated many times that my wife is a high at-risk pregnancy, so I've decided to try and not explode things until I know something for a fact and risk what would potentially be the only opportunity I have to have a child at my age. If it turns out I'm wrong and that happens because I blew all this up over nothing, I don't know how I could live with myself, and my marriage likely wouldn't survive that anyway. So I don't see that as a winning option. If I deal with it calmly and like an adult, and if I'm wrong, then great, we can move on. And if I'm right, then it can still be dealt with accordingly with facts and not speculation. If the child is mine and the birth goes well, then we have a healthy child and I can deal with the remainder of any damage she has or hasn't done without risking potentially the only child I'm going to have. Trust me, I'm not ignoring it. I'm choosing to support my wife to get through the pregnancy first, then I'll deal with the rest of it. It's probably been the hardest thing I've ever done emotionally, but here we are. I know I'm a sarcastic son of a bee in some of these comments, but honestly, thank you for everyone's concern. And I've gotten some good advice from people. Mostly, this has been a bit cathartic to write all of this down, as most of my friends are toxic dudes who are more interested in fighting about golf or some other pointless crap. I love them, but I don't really have anyone other than her to talk to about any of this, so honestly, thank you. Oh, and that's the last update for now. I'll keep an eye out for any future updates and, whether or not he confirms the child is his or not. I'm sure it is, but we'll see. Also, something Opie said ages ago just struck me. How on earth is being away from home 40 weeks out of the year a good work-life balance? Like, no wonder there seems to be cracks happening in your relationship. Anyway, what do you guys think about this one? Let me know your thoughts down below. Either way, let's move on to another story. Alrighty, jumping over to Am I the A-hole? This one was written by user Simply Too Unlucky, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for making my teens, 16 male and 14 female, share a bedroom? Throwaway account. My husband unexpectedly passed away a few months ago, and I became a single mother to 3 kids, aged 16 male, 14 female, and 2 female. Due to the significant decrease of income, I was no longer able to continue renting where we were, and all I can afford is a one-bedroom apartment. Currently, I'm sleeping in the living room with my youngest, the 2-year-old. I gave the bedroom to my 16 and 14-year-old and asked them to share in the meanwhile. I tried adding a privacy screen in the middle so they feel like they have their own space, but they're telling me that this isn't acceptable. Each of my kids used to have their own rooms, so this is a massive change for them. I have been looking for a better paying job for months, and so far have had no luck. I can't get a second job because I can't afford to pay someone to care for my daughter outside of daycare hours. Neither of my kids are willing to help, and they say my youngest is not their responsibility. I know this situation isn't ideal, but I don't know what else I can do. For the past month, I've not been eating anything for 2 days a week, and just telling the kids I'm trying out the fasting trend for weight loss purposes. But the truth is, I can't afford to feed us all, and I've been using the food bank. Prior to this, I've never had to use the food bank services before, and I'm so thankful that it exists. I'm both thankful and deeply ashamed at the same time. Would I be the a-hole for telling my teens that they must share the bedroom? Would it be better if I suggested my son sleep in the living room with me and have both my female kids share the bedroom instead? I do not live in the US, but it's not common for teenagers of opposite sex to share a bedroom. That's something I do absolutely recognize. Oh man, this is such a crappy situation for OP. And yeah, it'd be hard to reason with the teenagers regardless of the situation. I mean, I don't know where OP lives, but surely there's some benefit or allowance that, gives her a bit of money so that she can feed her kids and herself without dying. Let's go to the comments. Not the a-hole. Explain to the kids what's happening and that you're trying to fix the situation. Take them to the food bank with you. They need to know that you're doing your best during a difficult time. You don't need to hide this from them. They're old enough to understand and likely will be helped by knowing what's going on and why. You can't shield them from this, but there's a good chance you'll get a better response from them if you include them in your decision making that affects them. Hope better things come your way soon, not the a-hole. No a-holes here. Your teens are old enough to know your financial situation. If they really want their own rooms, then they're going to need to help, either by babysitting so you can get a second job, or by getting jobs themselves. It would probably be better if you and your daughters share the bedroom while your son sleeps in the living room. Not the a-hole. Literally, what do they expect you to do? I get that they're upset, but they're both old enough to understand that things are tough for your family, and you can't magically make an extra bedroom appear. So sorry for your loss. I'll say no a-holes here. You're all grieving. You've all been through a huge change in the last few months. This is hard on all of you. OP makes an edit. Gosh, I really wasn't expecting so many responses when I checked back. Thank you everyone. All this time I did feel it would be unfair to put adult problems on my kids. However, I will be giving them a surface level talk about our finances. I'll also be bringing them with me to the food bank. Hopefully they'll be more understanding. And another edit. The bedroom is larger than the living room. I am able to fit 2 single beds into the bedroom and the kids have space to store their clothes while still having the room divider in the middle. The living room is smaller. I currently have my youngest and my own clothes stored in the hallway due to lack of space. It's right next to the washroom and kitchen, so there is a lot of foot traffic. The living room also doubles as dining space because there's no dining room. On to an update. I had a chat with my kids after work. I still don't want to put an adult problem onto my kids, so I only gave them a brief overview of the dire financial issues we're having after my husband and their father passed away. Us downsizing to a 1-bedroom apartment was not by choice. I also told them the truth about how I couldn't afford to feed us all, and why I didn't eat 2 days of the week. I was afraid of how they would take the news, but it had gone better than I expected. My kids will be coming with me to the food bank for the next trip to help out. In terms of the rooming situation, both my older kids agreed that they did not want to share a room with my youngest because she frequently wakes up at night and also has accidents. They also don't want to share with me because I get up much earlier than them to work and it would disrupt their sleep. They would rather share the room with each other while I continue to sleep in the living room with my youngest. My 16 and 14-year-old told me that their friends were saying no kid should ever have to watch their sibling because they didn't create them. They've been told by their friends that it's parentification to be asked to babysit for even an hour, and it's never okay in any circumstance. That was why they kept calling me an a-hole when I asked if they could help with childcare so I could get a second job. Now that they know how bad the situation is, my son said he wants to find a part-time job to help contribute. My daughter apologized and said it wasn't that she hated me or her sister. Both my son and daughter said they're willing to help take care of the youngest so I can get a second job. Hopefully I can find something soon and be able to move to a larger space. One comment says, "Did your kids call you an a-hole?" Opie says, "Not exactly, but I was called an irresponsible parent for pushing my responsibility onto them initially. I asked because I didn't see any other choice. Family helps family. There wasn't anyone else I could have asked." And on to a new update, a little over a month later. Since my last post explaining my housing situation, I've found a night shift job working security. It only pays minimum wage, and I only get 25 hours per week, but it's at least something. I now work 2 jobs. So far, this job has been very relaxed. There honestly isn't much to do during my shifts, so I'm trying to save up enough money so I can move to somewhere larger, as well as take an online training program while working. I already asked my manager, and he said he was okay with me taking remote training while on my shift, as long as there truly is nothing to do, and it doesn't negatively impact my ability to work when needed. Hopefully, I can find a better job after upskilling. Yeah, and fingers crossed for OP. It's just such a sad situation that you wouldn't wish upon anyone. I guess it also makes you grateful for what you do have. Let's read some final comments. She's doing well with what she has. Bringing the kids in was smart. I needed that when I was a teen. It helped me appreciate my parents and what I did have, rather than always looking at what I lacked. Being poor is hard. I'm glad the kids are stepping up. I'm glad they all can have open, honest communication about their shared lives and some perspective. It frickin' sucks. Poverty is devastating. Working at 16 to help make ends meet sucks. Sharing a room sucks. But mums are people too and need help sometimes. Lady is skipping meals to feed the kids. When tragedy happens, circle the wagons and work together. Yeah, people are very quick to cry parentification and room sharing is abuse, but that's the case when the parents are choosing to force older kids to raise, not babysit younger kids, so they can pursue their own dreams and hobbies when they have alternatives, or forcing kids to share rooms so a parent can have a dedicated game room, or move in 3 stepkids. But the reality is that not everyone can afford a 5-bedroom house with a live-in nanny. The reality is that some kids have to work or help out at home more than their peers. As long as they're allowed time to still be kids, this is far from abuse. I understand not wanting to burden the children with the knowledge that she's going hungry and they're financially in a bad place, but if things are that bad, it's better to tell them the truth, or else the children won't get it and thinking it's the mum's fault and grow bitter since they don't understand why. Thinking children are going to shrug and be fine with sudden changes, especially after their dad died, because family helps family, is silly. I'm glad she was convinced to tell the truth. Yeah, as am I. What about you guys? Let me know your thoughts down below. Anyway, let's move on again. Alrighty, this next one was written by user Classic Contexts, and it's titled, "Am I the a-hole for wanting to use the hall pass my wife gave me 5 years ago when she cheated on me?" My wife, 35, and I, 35, have been married for 10 years. We have 2 children, 9 female and 7 male. 5 years ago, I found out that my wife had an affair. I felt crushed and numb because I love my wife a lot. Her affair partner told me about it when my wife called it off. The affair lasted 1 month, and my wife had called it off because she felt really guilty about it. When I confronted my wife about it, she was very remorseful and didn't deny anything. She said she'd do anything, follow any reconciliation steps I asked, and just begged to not break up our family. I asked her why she cheated, and she gave no excuses, and she just said it was for the thrill. My first reaction was to divorce, but after sitting on it for a week, I decided to just stick it out for our family, and because I still loved my wife. My wife was very thankful, and she even told me I had a hall pass I could use whenever I wanted. Over the next year or so, my wife followed the reconciliation steps, which included therapy, getting sober, quitting her job, and a bunch of other things. I had forgiven my wife, but I could never forget it. I would occasionally just replay in my mind my wife cheating on me, and that always hurt a lot. Fast forward to today, and my family is doing great. However, I have struck a friendship with Melissa, 32, who I met at a bookstore. We had common interests in books for existentialism, metaphysics, and similar books. I don't know how, but when we met, we just clicked. We initially met every week at the bookstore to just discuss books and life, but we started talking more about our personal life, and we then started going on coffee dates and brunches. One more thing we had in common was that Melissa too was married to her husband who had cheated on her many years ago. It's been almost a year since I met her, and Melissa has made it upfront that she has very strong feelings for me, and that she's never had these feelings for anyone else in her life. I too have a lot of feelings for her, but I feel guilty about it, so I haven't told her about them yet. I haven't crossed any physical boundaries, and I don't intend to. We only hug and hold hands. But I do want to explore more of an emotional connection to her, because I've never felt like this ever. I remember that my wife gave me a hall pass 5 years ago when she cheated on me. Would I be the a-hole to use that hall pass to explore the emotional connection I have with Melissa? Yeah, I mean, you could do it, and he has a right to, but regardless, it's probably going to wreck the marriage, no matter what she said then or even now. Let's go to the comments. It'll end your marriage, but yeah, you should probably go tell your wife you want to use your hall pass, because the marriage has obviously never recovered and you've obviously found someone who is a much better match for you. Even better, just go tell your wife you want a divorce, and that no matter how hard you tried, you could never truly get fully past the cheating. That it's best if you separate so you can both find a relationship that isn't broken. All of that would be the truth. Then you can go to Melissa and say, I've begun divorce proceedings with my wife. If you want to explore what we have together, I would want to do that, but only if you divorce your husband. We can ensure that neither of us are cheaters, and we owe it to ourselves to make that the case. Even if you don't divorce, I'm still divorcing my wife, but I won't be waiting around. I've wasted too much time already. I hope you'll find the courage to take a leap of faith with me, understanding that there's no guarantee it will work out. I truly believe that we have a special connection, something I haven't ever felt with someone else in my life. I would be very sad to lose it. A hall pass is for a one-night stand with someone you're attracted to, but that's it. A hall pass is not to deepen an emotional connection you have with someone by adding sex into the mix. I would just tell your wife you want a divorce, because chances are your wife will ask you for one when you tell her about Melissa. She's definitely going to find out that this is someone you're already in love with. Just be honest and say that you've never really forgave or forgot the affair and that you want a divorce. Because chances are, if you do use your hall pass with Melissa, you'll probably want to end things with your wife, since you and Melissa already have feelings for each other. She doesn't seem like someone you want to just use for sex and never see again. You know, like how hall passes usually work. And honestly, it's clear to see that you've never really gotten over your wife's affair, or you wouldn't be holding on to the idea of being able to cash in a hall pass 5 years later. Not that you or anyone else needs to get over an affair by any means. I just mean that you didn't truly forgive her, or you wouldn't feel the need to do the same to her. Even if she'd said you could, because deep down, I'm sure she didn't really mean that. No one is truly okay with giving their partner a pass to sleep with whoever they want. Dude, you may not be having a physical affair in your eyes with Melissa, but you're already cheating on your wife by an emotional affair. I think you're cheating holding hands and hugging her because you aren't doing that as friends, but intimate contact. It's obvious you haven't forgiven your wife at this point. Kindest thing is divorce, and let you both live your own life. Yeah, it's pretty sound advice from the comments, I think. Let's go to an update. Thank you everyone for the advice. I have decided not to use the hall pass as I don't really feel too great about it, and it wouldn't be fair to my wife. I want to clarify what I meant by using the hall pass. I had no intentions of proceeding with any sexual activity, but instead deepening my emotional connection with Melissa, and may have at worst included kissing. She tried to kiss me once, but I rejected it because I felt guilty about it. I texted Melissa and let her know, and while she was disappointed, she asked if we could still remain friends like we are now, and I told her sure, and she was very happy about it. I do like hanging out with Melissa a lot and talking about life. I also get that flutters and excited energy, and I like that a lot. And some final comments. So, you have decided to have an affair. You can't remain friends like you are now. Wow. Can we remain friends like we are now, with extremely strong, irreconcilable feelings for each other? Nothing says friendship like a marriage-ending emotional affair. Melissa and Opie will respond to this eventually. She already admitted strong feelings, and he expressed a desire to deepen the bond, whatever the frick that means. A friendship is a frickin' dumb idea once feelings have been admitted by both sides. Yeah, I don't think this guy really understands what a hall pass means. I thought initially he just wanted to have sex with her, right? But no, he wants to deepen an emotional connection, which in the terms of a hall pass is probably even worse. I don't know, what do you guys think about this one? Let me know your thoughts down below. Either way, that's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.